Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined by House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Mr. Scalise, welcome back.
Hey, Hugh. Great to be back with you.
I hate to do this, but you are among the best-known survivors of a mass shooting. We had another one this weekend in Texas. What goes through your mind when you see the initial news flash from this, Mr. Leader?
Yeah, Hugh. It's always, you immediately pray for the people involved, for the victims, and just hope that everybody makes it through. Obviously, there were casualties, and you hope that they get the guy who did it, which they did.
Do you follow the details closely? Because I don't, because narratives are always wrong, first reports are always wrong, and I just don't credit them much. Do you follow motivation? Do you care about motivation?
Not really. I mean, it's obviously you follow what happened along the way, and follow the victims, but you want to get the facts. And one of the things that disappoints me the most in so many of these is that there are people who are very quick to start calling for promotion of their own political agenda before they even know the facts. This is not a moment for politics. It should be a time for prayer, and then go get the facts, go get who did it.
All right, now, Mr. Leader, I originally invited you on to talk about the debt limit, so let's go there. The president has finally agreed to a meeting, but then he gave this MSNBC interview. I think he's infirm. I don't think he's running this show. What do you think? What's the speaker ready for?
Well, I agree with your assessment, but at the end of the day, there has to be an agreement made. A deal has to get done. And so, the speaker's going to go into a meeting with the other leaders. So you have Mitch McConnell, you have Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and I think it's going to be Speaker McCarthy and Minority Leader McConnell that are going to be pushing to get the kind of spending reforms we need to get our country back on track and to stop continuing to max out the nation's credit card with the debt ceiling. And we laid out a lot of good options in the bill we passed. It has real spending reforms, things that would save hundreds of billions of dollars for taxpayers. It has economic growth proposals to get the economy moving again, which also, you have to do two things to balance a federal budget. You have to, one, get control over spending, but you also have to grow the economy. You have to do both. And we have elements of both in the package we sent over to the Senate. Whatever final deal comes out, it needs to include both of those components.
You and the Speaker and the whip, Mr. Emmer, are doing a fine job keeping together a very, differentiated, very diverse Republican caucus. But they all got together on this. So the president's opening bid was nothing, clean debt limit. You responded with a serious proposal. It's their turn. Do you expect a serious, detailed response?
Well, it's time to get serious. You've seen the president hiding out for over 2 months. The president loves just sitting back, trying to stir up a crisis, scare the American people so that he can get more money to spend. And that would be the most irresponsible thing that can happen. We knew that we wouldn't have the credibility to go to the table and demand that we get reforms to spending if we didn't put something out on our own, if we didn't pass a bill, which meant the Democrats had no desire to solve this problem. So we knew we would have to do it on our own, and we did, which was no small feat, as you mentioned, from the speaker to the whip on down. We all worked together with all elements of our conference to come up with this proposal. You see the left just taking shots at it. And my answer has always been, well, then what's your idea? What's your bill that can pass the Senate or the House? Because we've shown what we can do to pass a bill and dealing with both the debt ceiling and the problem that got us here. And so whatever we get out of this, the president can't just keep running out the clock. There's only a few weeks left. I mean, according to Janet Yellen, the X date, as they call it, the date that all the extraordinary measures end and the debt ceilings truly hit is June 1st. And so that means you've only got about 3 weeks left. This week, they should be putting real alternatives on the table. The White House should be. And if they're not, then they're not serious and they want a debt crisis, and that's not good for this country.
I talked to Jake Sherman in the first hour, Mr. Leader. I don't believe the June 1 date. I just don't. I think it's a negotiating ploy. But, okay, what do you believe is the drop-dead date in terms of default?
Yeah, in the end, if you're able to get a couple more weeks out of it, we know it's all around this same time. The bottom line is, we shouldn't be here in early to mid-May just starting to wonder what the president's opening bid's going to be. Again, over 2 months ago, the speaker and the president sat down to start talking about the debt ceiling, and then the president went into hiding because the president wanted to run out the clock. And I think it tells you something about his attitude towards crises. It's make the crises worse, scare the American people more, scare financial markets more. The president wants people's 401ks to be at risk so that he can then just get whatever he wants in terms of a clean debt ceiling. That's not going to happen this time. But we shouldn't be here just weeks before that deadline. This should have happened over 2 months ago. And so this week is a time to get serious. The president has blown a whole lot of time waiting until the midnight hour. But it's time for him to finally start putting up. Shut up or put up, and here's the moment.
Now, Mr. Leader, Neera Tanden, who was originally the nominee for the OMB, she has the president's confidence. She's now the head of the Domestic Policy Council, replacing Susan Rice. If they say, go negotiate with Neera, do you do that? I mean, who is the team? Who will end up hashing out a deal? Because you can't get this through the Senate without 10 Democrats, and you can't get it through the Senate without 10 Republicans. And so it's got to be a bipartisan deal. Who does the negotiating for the White House? It's not the president. He's not capable of that.
Yeah, and when you go back to debt ceilings under Obama, it was Joe Biden that Obama would send into some of those negotiations. Do you really think he can send Kamala Harris in to close the deal on behalf of the White House, for goodness sake? So I don't know who he sends in, but somebody better be willing to cut a deal and be serious. Not, just give us a clean debt ceiling. Just give us a clean debt ceiling. It's not going to happen. And so get over that. Start talking about how you solve the problem. And by the way, it's President Biden who spent all this money his first 2 years when we were in the minority. They had the majority. Nancy Pelosi was the speaker. You notice she didn't raise the debt ceiling when she was passing the bills to spend all this money. So it's time for them to get serious. They haven't shown a desire up until now, but I think the American people are disgusted by this. They expect more out of our president.
Am I right to conclude, Mr. Leader, that the party in opposition to the White House never raises the debt limit because they might not be the party in the majority when the debt limit comes back around, and they want to have leverage? Both houses, it's a constitutional deal. The legislative branch wants leverage. The executive branch wants leverage. They have to get together when you have 1/2 of 1/3 of the government.
Yeah, and this is the way, by the way, that Bill Clinton was able to get to balanced budgets with Newt Gingrich as speaker. It was debt ceiling and appropriations bills where they went back and forth on some big things, and welfare reform, by the way, was one of them, putting work requirements in place. That's part of our proposal, by the way. Shouldn't able-bodied adults just go look for work in order to get welfare benefits from hardworking families? Some who are working 2 or 3 jobs pay for somebody to sit at home when everybody's looking for workers. That's one of the big parts of this package. And so there's really good things there that would help the economy, and Biden would benefit from it. A healthy economy would benefit the president. The president himself should want to be directly involved in these negotiations, and he should want to get a really good deal for the taxpayers of this country. We passed a good deal for the taxpayers of America. The president should go along with it or put a better idea on the table.
Markets are not worried at this point, Mr. Leader. I just want markets to understand the Republicans are not for turning on this. They have to get something. Like Nancy Pelosi got stuff from Donald Trump, and like John Boehner got stuff from Barack Obama. Presidents have to deal with speakers. That's the deal. And you're not going to flinch, right?
No, this has to get fixed because we're going to be back again. If we don't fix the spending problem in Washington, it just keeps getting worse. It's not going to have the same problem again. It'll be a worse problem in a year from now. The spending, think about it. For every dollar coming into the federal treasury, $1.29 is being spent. That's how bad the spending problem is. And if we're shaving it down to $1.27, it's still a big improvement over where we are now. But President Biden has to get in this game. He has to acknowledge this is a problem and be willing to work with us to fix it.
Now, Mr. Leader, you are a gentleman like the Speaker, like the Whip. You don't go on radio shows and say the president is infirm. But I'm a journalist, and I have to call it like I see it. I don't think he's up to this. I really don't think he knows how to negotiate like he used to do when President Obama. But that was a decade ago when he would be sent off by President Obama to deal with it. Who is wrong? I mean, you're not going into this meeting. You'll be in the next meeting. Who do you think is running this? It's not Joe Biden, and no one can persuade me he has any idea what is on the table.
Obama holdovers, the folks that were working in the Obama administration that are still around. But whoever that is, to send somebody into the room that's to get this idea that they're going to get everything they want isn't going to hold.
Will there be border control in any debt limit? I know that's a separate bill. I don't know if you put it in to the draft or to the bill that the House passed, because I know that's the opening bid. But will there be some border authority? Because we're about to be washed over with a wave of 1 million new migrants.
Yeah, we are passing this week a major border security package. It's going to be on the House floor this Thursday, and you're going to see probably the strongest bill. If you listen to Jim Jordan and Mark Green and others who have worked on this a lot, probably the strongest border security package that our country's seen, because the problem is worse than what we've ever seen, and it's been created by Joe Biden. But we're going to show the country how you can secure the border, how you can solve the problem, giving Border Patrol the tools that they need to secure the border, putting some of those protocols like Remain in Mexico back in place, for refunding the wall so the wall can start being built again, giving more technological tools to our border agents. So a lot of really important pieces, a lot of work's gone into this for months, but it's time for the president again to step up and do his job, securing the border. Mayorkas has been a disgrace. I know he was out at the border the other day, and start working with Republicans to fix this problem. But we're not going to sit on the sidelines like the president has. We're going to show the country how you can secure the border, but it's going to take action from the other side working with us to get there.
Compliments to you, the Speaker, and the Whip, and every Republican. Patrick McHenry, I'll play a little bit after the break. He did a good job explaining this, but you got to stand firm. I'm glad you are, and I appreciate your taking the time, Mr. Leader, for joining me this morning. Have a great week.
Always good to be back with you. You take care.